Futurism reported that XAI's Grok appeared to accurately dox the address of Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy when asked by random X users. And it turns out that Grok isn't just doxing celebrities. A Futurism review found that the free web version of Grok will, with extremely minimal prompting, provide accurate residential addresses for non public figures, a feature that could easily assist stalking, harassment, and other dangerous types of behavior. In response to prompts as simple as name and address, we found Grok repeatedly offered up accurate, up to date home addresses of everyday people. When Grok was asked to provide an address for a specific name in the testing, the chatbot frequently came back with other information they didn't ask for, including current phone numbers and emails, as well as accurate lists of family members and their addresses. Grok's behavior notably stands in sharp contrast to other leading chatbots like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude, all of which declined to provide the addresses in response to comparably simple, straightforward prompts, citing privacy concerns as they resisted. Johannes, what measures can be put in place to prevent this type of private information sharing from a regulatory perspective?
Well, Tiffany, from a regulatory perspective, the core issue here is that Grok is effectively acting as an automated doxing tool. Regulators already have tools to deal with this, but they need to be applied explicitly to generative models. First, lawmakers can draw clear red line around what general purpose AI system is allowed to output. A person's home address is unambiguously personal data under data protection law, and European guidance on generative AI already emphasizes data minimization, purpose limitation, and data protection by design and by default for systems that process personal data. The EU AI Act goes further by requiring providers of powerful general purpose models to implement risk management systems, document training data at a high level, and conduct adversarial testing for systemic risks. One straightforward regulatory move is to treat systemic disclosure of precise contact information for private individuals as a prohibited or tightly restricted behavior, and to make refuse and redirect the legally required default for those queries, with narrow carve-outs for law enforcement or other highly controlled users. Next, regulators can insist on technical safeguards and independent testing rather than just written promises. XAI's own model card for Grok 4 describes input filters meant to reject certain harmful requests, for example, related to weapons or child sexual abuse, and a refusal policy for serious criminal activity, while the company's terms of service explicitly list violating a person's privacy as a prohibited use. Yet we now have consistent evidence that the public web version of Grok will still hand over addresses for dozens of named individuals with minimal pushback. A regulatory response that matches the risk would require privacy-focused red teaming, specifically probing for personal data leaks, mandatory logging and reporting of such tests, and the ability of regulators to block deployment or require fixes when a system fails. And next, there needs to be a meaningful enforcement when companies do not meet those standards. In Europe, data protection authorities have already fined AI chatbot providers for unlawful data processing and inadequate safeguards, as in Italy's recent penalty against the developer of Replica, and are currently active scrutinizing how generative models handle training and output of personal data. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission has been clear that there is no AI exemption from existing consumer protection and privacy laws, and has urged companies to build privacy and security by default into generative tools that rely on large, potentially sensitive data sets. Allowing a commercial chatbot to function as an on-demand doxing service for ordinary people is exactly the kind of unreasonable risk these laws are already designed to address. So in practical terms, I think you'll see regulators push for three things: explicit output rules that ban doxing-style responses from mainstream chatbots, mandatory privacy testing and monitoring around those rules, and real consequences, fines, restrictions, and in extreme cases, temporary suspensions, when systems still leak sensitive information at scale. Even if the raw data exists somewhere on the open web, turning them into a one-line answer for anyone who asks, radically changes the risk profile. Regulation has to recognize that amplification effect and treat it as a regulated harm, not just an unfortunate side effect of a clever search.